Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so blessed to be here, and now that you've seen the video, I'm going home. I hadn't seen that video. Whoever did that, congratulations. Thank you for making me look extraordinarily good. I do want to take a moment to tell you how grateful I am to be here. Hopefully, I won't choke up too much, because as I look out from working with a lot of you, it's meant more to me than I think I've been able to impact you. And it means that much to me, because my mission in life is to empower others simply to be happy. And I wanted to speak at Money Matters because, believe it or not, money matters in happiness. And I've struggled with the idea that money mattered, because for a whole bunch of my life, as many of you know, money was all that mattered. I didn't think I believed in God, but I certainly believed in money. And what I realized later on in life was money was my God, and that everybody serves a God. We just don't all know what God we're serving. Money matters because it does not buy love or happiness, but it allows us to shop. Every day it allows us to shop. And if you shop for the right things, for the right reasons, I promise you, you'll be happy. Now, I've told and taught that lesson for years. If you shop for the right reasons, you'll be happy. And am just blessed. Another thank you I have to Sean and Lacey is they helped me at the launch party and brought just extraordinary people in for the launch party, where we raised money, as I always do, for something. We raised money for the Unstoppable Foundation, and some of you have seen the videos there. We raised $207,000, which our goal was 150. I promised to match 50,000 of it, so we raised 157, which was our goal, and Julie and I matched 50 to make it $207,000 in 2 hours of partying. So you can make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. Now, I coached this kid. His name's Tay Sweat, and I really liked him. Maybe you know him. He's in the financial industry, and he is an inner city kid, an at-risk kid who took $5,000 loan from PayPal for personal development. All his friends laughed at him. They scoffed at him. They made fun of him. They said, "What are you doing, dude? You have nothing. And you're going to take a loan. You're going to put your whole life into debt for personal development to learn from a mentor. Is that really what you want to do?" And he said, "Absolutely." Within 9 months, he was a millionaire. Within 2 years, a multi-millionaire. And I was coaching Tay and mentoring Tay, and I see a video of him with a Lamborghini. I literally lost my mind. Sometimes the most frustrating thing as a teacher, a coach, or a mentor is when you think you've gotten through to somebody, and then they say something or ask a question that is so rudimentary, so basic to what, I can see my friend, the second grade teacher, is here going, "I get what you're talking about. I thought I spent the whole semester trying to teach you this." That's the way I felt with Tay Sweat. So I called him after I stopped, drop, and roll, and some of you who've been in my mastermind knows what that means. After I literally blew my head telling my wife, minutes and moments, minutes, stop, drop, and roll. I thought this kid got it. I can't believe he doesn't understand how money matters in his life. He bought a Lamborghini with his first multi-million. What am I here for? I'm trying to teach people, impact them. So I call him up when I was calm, and I said, "Tay, congratulations." He said, "Thank you, Mr. Meltzer. What is it?" I said, "On your car. I hope it makes you happy." He said, "I can't tell you how happy my car makes me." I said, "Well, it's probably not going to last." He said, "Oh, no, it's going to last forever." I I said, how are you so certain? Do you know I teach you? He said, stop there. I said, I'm not sure I can coach you anymore if I have to stop here. You're not learning from me. I'm wasting my time. I got a wait list of people that want to work with me, that are willing to work with me, collaborate with me, and learn. So you are an icon. You're someone that kids look up to you, and you can teach them, and you're driving around in that car? What are you doing? He said, Mr. Meltzer, before you fire me, can I tell you why I bought the car? I said, yeah, go ahead. He said, I bought the car because when I drive it in my neighborhood, everybody looks at me. I said, that's why I bought mine, but they're not looking up to you. He said, hold on, wait, give me a chance. I said, all right. He said, when I drive up, all the kids come up to me and they ask me, oh my God, how'd you get this car? What sport do you play? What music do you produce? What do you sing? What do you do? How'd you get this car? And I simply tell them, I read books and I teach people. I still get choked up. Imagine that. That money matters. Because he knows his neighborhood. He knows his frequency. And just because some middle-aged mutant turtle like David Meltzer said that buying a Lamborghini is not the way to happiness, he understood better than I did his frequency in his neighborhood, how he could meet those kids where they're at and teach them why money matters. Because we can teach people, we can learn things, we can empower people to empower others. Money is an energy that's so misunderstood and misevaluated. Everybody know what evaluation is? It's energy value. Here's the difficulty that I found with money, beyond that people don't know how to find out to shop for the right things for the right reasons. It's time. Time and risk tolerance are the two things that are most misunderstood about money. We go into things without understanding time and understanding our values. Our evaluation of a situation requires us to mitigate risk by understanding the risk that we're willing to withstand. Some people are willing to live in their cars to make things happen. Other people aren't willing to risk anything at all. But timing and risk tolerance are necessary to make your money matter. You need to know your timing and risk tolerance every single day when it comes to money. You need to evaluate your finances every single day by the what you want, who you can help you, how to get it done, and prioritize your money. It's impossible to prioritize money if you don't know your timing and risk tolerance for that day. You'll notice I always talk about daily practices in that day, and that's because there's only one reality. There's only one place where money matters, and there's only one place where all man-made constructs matter, including time, space, anything that can be quantified, and it's just today. Because if you realize everything that's happened yesterday and beyond is relative, and everything that's going to happen in the future is relative to your mindset. I have readjusted my past beyond imagination, and I've readjusted my future every single day beyond my own imagination. It scares me. I had horrible things happen to me just like you when I was young. You heard my financial stress that I had with losing over $100 million with a pregnant wife, a rented house, rented cars after everything I own. I've changed the meaning, the relativity of that in my life to being protected and promoted, the best thing that ever happened to me. But I can't change today. I can't change the reality of today associated to my timing and risk tolerance today. I can change my mind tomorrow by any of the pain, setbacks, and failures that I receive today as protection and promotion for tomorrow to evaluate my own money, timing, and risk tolerance. If you're not living in today with a trajectory in the future of what you want your money to be, what you want the matters of your money to be, but by doing pragmatically what you need to today to be productive, accessible, and gracious, you're making a huge mistake. The only man-made constructs that exist are today. List out anything that you want to me, and I'll tell you it does not exist tomorrow or in the past. I could change it immediately. They change history books all the time. There's all kinds of political things around it. It's all relative. You cannot change today. And when you understand your timing and risk tolerance, you always will be happy with the economic decisions that you make, the investments that you make. And the investments that you make with money are not just the decisions that revolve around money. People tell me all the time, oh, I'm sacrificing this for my family. No, you're not. You're investing your time in your family. You're investing, and every time you're investing a minute, a second, or an hour in today, you need to know your timing and risk tolerance. You need to know beforehand, so all you are doing is prioritizing or aligning your decisions to the timing and risk tolerance that you started the day with. I use a lottery ticket example of how investment works with timing and risk tolerance. So everyone knows a lottery ticket's $2. Everyone knows that Saturday at 8 o'clock you'll find out whether or not you won the $500 million. Almost everyone knows there's about a 1 billion to 1 chance to win that lottery. So when you buy the lottery ticket today for $2 investment, and Saturday comes and you don't win the lottery, you're not disappointed. Because it was aligned completely with what your timing and risk tolerance was. I see people all the time with crypto and real estate, especially in the markets today. They'll invest money, especially younger people that don't know timing and risk tolerance and are living for what's coming, not what they're becoming. But when they look at it, they'll say to me, I sold out of my Nano. Huh? Yeah, I sold out of it. I'm like, oh, did you make money? Yeah, I made 3 times what I invested. You made 300% on your money? Yeah, I'm so pissed. Why is that? Well, because it went up 10 times more. How many times have you done that in your life? Gone into a situation without knowing your timing and risk tolerance today, outperforming anything that's even realistic, and end up disappointed or unhappy because you didn't know your timing and risk tolerance. So you automatically in your head, if it went up after you sold it, were a loser. You were unhappy. Go into every day understanding the timing and risk tolerance that you have, understanding money is one of the critical quantitative values that you should evaluate every single day, because just like behaviors, money aggregates on itself, it compounds on itself. So not only do I take an assessment or evaluation of timing and risk tolerance each day relative to what I want in the future, or what I think I want in the future, knowing I can change my mind tomorrow. Also knowing I can change my mind about the past as well concerning money. Utilizing that, I go ahead and predetermine the distribution of my money each day as well. What does that mean? Each day I have a plan, and it usually doesn't change, at least for a quarter, if not a half a year. Each day I say to myself, for all the money I'm going to receive, this percentage goes to blank. Every day. Quantitatively, because that's the only day that quantitative man-made constructs apply. So if I make $1 today, 10 cents will go to charity, 10 cents will go to savings, 10 cents will go to lottery tickets, meaning things like lottery tickets that I could lose everything, but I know I could lose everything. And my timing on it is I don't care, because if I do win on that investment, it's for my grandchildren anyway. So I know my timing every single day, and then I go ahead and always am aware of other expenses and the evaluation of those expenses each day. And it might sound like it's cumbersome and OCD, but it's not, because it doesn't change that much when you are paying attention and giving intention every day. That's where I think a lot of people have misperceptions. They're participating in my perception of reality today in a different manner, because it sounds like it's a lot to do. It's actually a lot less to do. Let me give you a racing analogy, since I'm so into racing now. Most people go in life like a drag racer, right? They're just, I'm in consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. I'm going to go the extra mile. And they go and they go and they go and they go and they get up to a speed about 215 miles an hour, multi-millionaire, beautiful wife, kids, everything. And then there's a subprime lending crisis and a lawsuit, and all of a sudden, adjustment. But when you're going 215 miles an hour and you have to make a right turn, that's the definition of a disaster. And there's a lot of work that goes into those disasters. It's taken me 16 years to get to where I'm at when the right turn happened, when I was flying at 250 miles an hour and everybody thought my race car was the best and I was the best driver. But what happened is when I deal just with the reality of today, and I know what I want personally, experientially, giving and receiving, who I can help, who can help me, how I'm going to get it done, and I'm prioritizing, knowing my timing and risk tolerance of money, time, space, all the man-made constructs, then tomorrow comes, there's very little adjustment. If I would have been doing this with all the money that I had earned from the time I was 24 years old, 9 months out of law school, a millionaire, by 30, a multimillionaire, by 36, over $100 million. If I was doing this type of assessment when the subprime lending crisis happened, despite all the stuff that I had owned, the golf course, the ski mountain, 33 homes in San Diego, all the stupid stuff, I would have been fine. The adjustment when the stock market crashed would have been very little. The adjustment when I got into a lawsuit would have been very little. Because I was just maneuvering every single day, working within the construct of what I'm given in a man-made day. Today's the only man-made day that you're given. Every other day is relative. You could change your future and your past. It's easy. That's a mindset, heart set, not a handset. You need to work within the construct of your handset. What am I going to do today according to what I want in the future? What am I going to say today according to what I want in the future? What am I going to think today for what I want in the future? What am I going to believe today? Once again, I reconcile time into everything. How do you know how much you believe in something? Just take the amount of time that you don't believe in it, meaning when you're in fear-based consciousness, and evaluate the day saying, why did I spend 6 hours worrying about that? I promise you, any of you want to spend 6 hours worrying about something, I will outperform you. No matter how talented you are. You spend 6 hours worrying about something, not only are you creating interference between you and all that skills and knowledge that you have, but you're wishing for what you don't want for 6 hours. As long as I'm within this context of, okay, these are the man-made constructs of time, space, money, anything that I can quantify is man-made, right? Anything that I can apply math to is man-made. So I'm going to focus in on what am I doing, saying, thinking, and believing, and how do I feel? The last indicator of inspiration, the last indicator of intuition, the last indicator of intellect. All of those things are existing in us so that we can give meaning to what? The future and the past. I don't know anyone that loves their past and their future. I don't know anyone that is hopeful about their past and their future that isn't happy. I don't know anyone that makes a lot of money and helps a lot of people and has a lot of fun every day that isn't happy. Live today in a reality. Search in the future a relative, unbelievably audacious dream that scares not only you but anyone that you tell. Everything I do today is realistic. I have a very active calendar. It's very productive, accessible, and gracious with my time. But if you look quantitatively at what my activity is, there's not one activity that I do that every single one of you couldn't do. But for some reason, when I tell people when they meet me, so what do you do? Oh, I'm changing the world. What? Oh yeah, I'm going to change the world. Huh? Yeah, I'm going to empower the whole world to be happy. Huh? Nobody, the first time I meet them, when I tell them, even the people who are the most optimistic, open-minded, open-hearted, and open-handed people, don't at least smirk at me a little bit. Like, who the, are you? I'm Jesus Christ. No, I'm not. In fact, that was my greatest fear when I received this anointment walking on the beach thinking about a 12-year-old that commits suicide. I just said to myself, I can do this. But I didn't sit at home and just tell my wife I can do it. I didn't dream about it. I didn't just sit on stages and say, I can do this and you can do this. No, every single day, I'm a student in my calendar. I pay attention to and give intention to the coincidences I want today in that trajectory to change the world. Is there anything super special about me? Absolutely not. I might be more consistent than most people. But I didn't get the highest grades even in my family. I wasn't the greatest athlete, maybe in my family, but besides my family, definitely outside of my family. I can't think of one thing that you would say, oh my gosh, he's the best in the world at, but yet I'm going to change the whole world. And so can you. But the only way that you do it is to realize money matters. Shop for the right things for the right reasons. Know your timing and risk tolerance every day. Don't be afraid of subtle changes instead of life-shattering, earth-shattering bankruptcy changes. You don't have to do it. It's much easier 2 minutes a day than 2 hours on a Saturday. It's much easier. It may sound like it's cumbersome. It may sound like it's obsessive, but it's not. It's just a matter of understanding that the attention that I pay to my time and the activity within that time will create the coincidences I want. I will be able to manipulate by doing the activities today to change the relativity of not only my future, but my past, even in the man-made construct of time and money. Understand your timing and risk tolerance. Understand the distribution that you want percentage-wise of everything you receive. And I promise you, you will realize 4 things. There will be no more searches for more money, more happiness. There'll be no more searches for worthiness or even health. You will be on a path that you are happy, healthy, wealthy, and worthy. You'll start figuring out what you're doing to interfere with it. You live in a world of abundance. There is more than enough of everything, including money. There is more than enough, I'm going to say this again, of everything, including money, for everyone. I tell a story to finish up before Sean comes up here. 25 years or so ago, I was richer than Jeff Bezos. I was more well known than Jeff Bezos. If Jeff Bezos would have called me and brought me into his garage and said, Mr. Meltzer, I heard you're fairly successful and you're very young. I want to be successful as well. In fact, I'm going to be successful. In fact, Mr. Meltzer, I'm going to be the richest man on earth. Really, what do you do? I'm selling books out of my garage on the internet. Now, I'm an optimist. But I would have smirked at him at the very least the same way that you would smirk at me at the very least when I say I'm going to change the world. If somebody would have told me, as he said, I think I'm going to make over $1 trillion, but you sell books today out of your garage on the internet with 9600 baud modems and DOS. If I could take wagers in Vegas, who here thinks Jeff Bezos is going to be a trillionaire someday? This is where he is today. I'll give you 1,000 to 1, 2,000 to 1, 1,000,000 to 1. I'll give you 1 trillion to 1. I don't think anybody would take the bet, including me. But what Jeff Bezos did was he used the man-made constructs of time and money in order. People thought he was crazy even into it. Why? Amazon's not making any money. Why would you pay that for that stuff? Amazon's not making any money. He's not making any money. He just keeps on building warehouses and cars all around the world. He's not making any money. He's losing money every year. Why are they giving him such a high valuation? Why? Because this is the lesson that Jeff Bezos, money matters. He knew his timing and risk tolerance, every single day, consistently, persistently in the pursuit of his potential. He did not care what other people thought. He didn't care what was missing or what he didn't have. All he was concerned about each day was utilizing his mindset, his heart set, and his handset, aligned with his timing and risk tolerance to be productive, accessible, and gracious. And guess what? He's the richest man on earth, making over $1 trillion. And he will continue to do so because he knows money matters. And he knows how to live in the reality of today and take advantage of the relativity of tomorrow. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. This guy has such a big personality. He's so happy.
He almost sat in my chair.
I will wear your vest. Now I'm going to have time for Q&A, right?
We're going to have time for Q&A. I'm going to get everybody started.
That's my favorite.
That's his favorite. So I'm going to get everybody started. I've got two things. One of my most impactful moments, I don't even know if you'll remember this. I'm going to see if I can get you to repeat it. We were on a boat on our day off on the private island.
When Julie jumped in all her clothes.
Julie jumped in the water with all her clothes. Lost her phone, and she had it.
Exactly.
You were talking about the golf course and what happened at that time. You were going to banks and they were like, sorry, Mr. Meltzer, we're not loaning you any money. We are potentially, with today's announcements, headed into that direction. And thankfully, like you had talked about, you're making course corrections and hopefully everybody else the same way. But walk us through that emotion and the lessons that were learned through that process.
Yeah, the first lesson is about ignorance. There's two types of people, ignorant people and ignorant people. People don't know what they don't know. Now, the person that was walking into those banks that was a multimillionaire before he was 30 was ignorant and arrogant. I knew I didn't know what I didn't know. But everybody else was telling me that I knew stuff that I didn't even know. They nicknamed me Midas. Everybody wanted to invest money into me. They wanted to put, before there was fatheads of David Meltzer in my company that they would celebrate you at meetings. You can ask Sandy. She was there in my 20s. I learned the lesson of ignorant humility because I went in and I thought for sure that I had at least $40 million at my disposal because of all the assets that I had. And I was very surprised when the bank said, oh no, I'm sorry, we can't give you that loan. But they're not dumb, right? They've been through this before. See, I started learning about situational knowledge and not to play games that people have played 1,000 times and it may be your first time. So when I went in, all of a sudden, after 12 years of having the same bank person that always said, oh, Dave, whatever you need, all of a sudden when I went in for the loan, there was someone new. For some reason, they had gotten rid of the high net wealth person who had handled all of these accounts for the last 20 years. So now I'm sitting with a person who literally says, who are you? I'm Mr. Meltzer. I have over $100 million in asset with your bank. I'd like to take a loan of $5 million. I need it. I'm in a lawsuit. I need more cash. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Meltzer. We're not giving those type of loans right now. It was that fast. Talk about a long drive home. Great lesson. So then what happens? You go to other people that you know, people you have borrowed money for, people that have invested in you, people that you've invested in, people that you've been kind to, other bankers that have begged you for your business. Hey, can I move my assets over to your bank? I need a loan. Oh, sorry, Mr. Meltzer, we're going out of business. We're not doing those kind of loans. Well, it takes about 2 or 3 months as all those bills are racking up beyond the lawsuit. And I know I coach some of you, you know how quickly this happens. All of a sudden you look down and you're like, holy crap. And then the word's out on the street that you need money, and that's when the sharks start circling around you. It's a lonely place to be. And what do you realize at that time? I'm ignorant and arrogant. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know anything. Holy crap. I worked in dreams since I was 5 years old to make $1 million to buy my mom a house and a car. And you know where I ended up? At my mom's front door to tell her 2 things. Only reason I ever wanted to be rich, to buy my mom a house and a car. It's the only time I saw her unhappy was when some financial stress was in her life, and I would do anything. And I'm at her door crying, and she answers the door, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's something. What happened? Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm fine. Are the kids okay?" "Everybody's fine, Mom." So then, "Why are you crying?" "Mom, I lost everything. I went bankrupt." "Oh." "And Mom, you have to move. I forgot to take your house out of my name." "Oh, are you okay?" "Mom, I don't think you heard me. You have to move." "Sweetheart, are you okay? Do you need some money?" The greatest lesson I learned was unconditional love. I thought money bought love and happiness. I thought my mom loved me because of the money I made. No, she loved me because she made me. That's it. She loved me because she made me. And nothing mattered. The money doesn't matter to her. And that lesson put me right back onto my feet, where when I got my first paycheck, my wife, who's far more enlightened than I am, and some of you have met her, I came home. I was still working for Lee Steinberg, the notable sports agent. I still had a salary, but I had lost a lot. And we were living in a rented house, rented furniture in one car. And I brought home a decent check, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to donate money to our high school." I've known my wife since the 4th grade. We went to junior high school together. I said, because I could have never been in college in my siblings unless somebody gave scholarship money, can I give this money to our high school? And she started to cry. And I said, no, don't be scared. I'm gonna be fine. I'm ready for this. And she said, no. She goes, "You finally get it." Once again, I thought money mattered in that way to my wife, and it didn't. In fact, what she told me was, "I'm so proud of you. You finally get it. You trust the universe." And I said, "I do. I get it. I'm working on it." She said, "Then double the check." I looked at her, I said, "No way. Don't trust the universe that much." Which is probably an important part, because I didn't trust the universe that much, and I have learned to trust it over 16 years, more and more and more and more and more, and it gets easier and easier and easier until I only spend minutes and moments in fear instead of days, weeks, months, and years, which a lot of people do.
So this is a Jakey Bakey test. You ready for
Big
this?
one or little one?
Big one.
Big one.
Let's see if you're on your game. Tell us about the 120 rule. 120 rule.
Yes, the 120 rule. In fact, Jakey, Shorty Bakey, where are you? Where's my wallet?
No, I got you. Let me loan Dave.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right. My whole life and my philosophy is based off of the 120 rule. And does anybody have 20 bucks? Come on. I always take the first person. This is how simple life is. This is my perspective of life. Thank you so much. Here, hold on. Can I give you this $100 for your 20?
That'd be amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Appreciate it. It's so simple. Most people are worried about the $100. They're negotiating, they're trading about the $100. My focus is on what I'm receiving. I control what I give. If I can provide in every instant $100 worth of value, 100 times value, and still receive 20 back, it's amazing what happens. This is the idea of appreciation, acknowledgement, and asking for more. Yes, quantitatively today, you made $80. Quantitatively today, but relatively, I live in abundance. I'm providing and striving to provide more value than I ask for. I still ask for it. I don't just say, hey, you need $100 here. Can I have $20 back? Do that energetically. I tell a story to Jake that I walked into a family function, and my mom, I told you a little bit about her, she didn't even stand up. My nephew, who adores me, looked right through me. And I'm thinking to myself, I better leave. So I walked out of the room and I said, energetically, I'm not giving $100 of value. I'm going to shift my energy. I'm going to stop, drop, and roll. Something's interfering because this isn't right. I don't even go any further because usually when we do that, things start spiraling. We're not in a good mindset, heart set, and hand set. So when I go up to my mom, all of a sudden I might say something to project my insecurity because obviously I'm feeling like, what did I do? Why did she ignore me? What did I? And then I'm going through the long list of shitty things that I did, and I think, oh my gosh, my mom knows that I used to steal money out of her purse, and now she found out and she hates me. This really happens in real life. So what did I do, and I continue to do in business and personal life and when I speak? I did it before I came in here. I went back outside, used the restroom, and as I stood out in that door, I shifted my energy. Because when I walked back into the party, it was amazing. My mom lit up. My nephew spun around and ran up and gave me a huge hug. I shifted my energy in value to what I received. Use the 120 rule. Don't be afraid. When you see someone, young Jakey Bakey, we were in New Orleans, and we were walking with my son, and who gets it more than I do. And I always go, usually with $100 bills, and I give my son a stack of $100 bills when we go to New York City or New Orleans or somewhere where there's a bunch of people that live on the street. And I say, anybody you think, in your mind, Miles, anybody you think needs this, I want you to walk up to them, give them the $100, look them in the eye, and tell them bless you, or God bless you, whatever you want. But you have to look them you have to acknowledge them. And so he would go, and he would do that, and the guy, he sees the guy sitting on the ground, and Jake's with me, and he can't believe what's going on. And I just keep walking, and Jake turns around to look. He goes, that guy's he's staring at us, Dave. He's crying. And Jake has tears in his eyes. And I said, I know. And my son witnessed all of that as well. That $100, I said, Jake, have you ever spent a better $100? Is there anything you've ever given $100 that has made you feel as good as you feel right now? And he'll tell you, without a doubt, it was the best $100 he's ever spent. I spent years, days, weeks, and months worried about the $100 as I walked by people, not giving myself the gift of why I'm here. Because money matters. And how it mattered most is when we go to dinner, there's the Willie's Fried Chicken in the quarter, if anybody knows that place, not the healthiest place in the world. He orders 2 chicken finger meals. 2. My son weighs like 60 pounds. And I was like, dude, you're gonna eat all that? I know you love this place. He's like, no, one's for the homeless people. Money matters. Money matters because your kids aren't listening to you. They're watching you. Best $100 I've ever spent. Of his money.
All right,
Buy yourself a new vest.
Thank you. We're gonna go to questions. Who's got a question for Dave? Right here, and Brant's got the box.
Better. Oh, turn it on. How do we turn it on?
You got it?
Oh, it's on. Sweet. One thing that I've been trying to assess based on what you're talking is how can I figure out my risk tolerance, and what is the optimal risk tolerance for getting what you want out of life? Obviously, I think we can all kind of figure out what we want out of life potentially, but maybe that risk tolerance is more of an abstract concept to me.
No, yeah, great question. So I try to limit my necessities. So I create a budget that usually doesn't change daily. I do a further assessment annually on what I'm doing, but daily it usually doesn't. So I look and see this is the percentage each day that I'm going to give to my housing, my car. This is the percentage. And I put my level for the year very low. For many, many years, I drove a Chevy Volt. Didn't need gas. I bought it used from Michigan. It was a salvage title. I knew exactly what my car expense, my house expense, everything for the day. So then I knew what percentage each day would go towards those things. Because remember, we're evaluating every day. So if I'm doing better, then I can have a bigger percentage that's going to be overflow, but it still goes to my housing. But if I commit 10% to my housing and I end up making more money, I'm just paying down my mortgage. Because that's my timing and risk tolerance. Or I might buy a bigger house the next year, but every day I'm consistently looking at what is my timing and risk tolerance, which is unemotionally taken by the percentage of distribution. It's amazing when you hold a budget for yourself, percentage-wise, each day, and you just put them into the buckets that they are, you'll be and realize, wow, I could be living in a better house, or this is painful because I've had to adjust a percentage of tithing just so I could eat. So I use straight math and distribution on my percentages. The thing is, when you get started, you don't have the clarity of doing this for 16 years, right? You literally, so I start real low baseline. When I started, I had very little expenses, right? Rented house, rented furniture, and one car. And everything went into savings. And I told my wife, I'm never buying a house. This is my values, right? I'm never gonna buy a house. I'm just gonna rent because I can control that number and it made me feel good, right? I'm just going to rent. And that 100% of the money that we save is gonna go into non-risky, non-zero risk. So I bought annuities and IULs. 100% asset, just, it's gonna grow. And then we adjusted, and then we adjusted again. And we ended up with one house, and then a beach house, and then 2 houses in Bloomington, and then, invested in a high rise. Why? Because it was just percentages. You got to do the math and stick to it, and you got to start low. You could always, it's easy to adjust up when you're distributing. Distributing your money. Thank you. Did I answer the question? Because I'm on the percentage side. It's not going to be easy at first, right? And what I would start with is first is what percentages are you living on today, and just acknowledging that, and then making the adjustments from there. That's probably a simpler way to start. Is okay. Most people right now, if I asked you, tell me where your money goes, you couldn't tell me, and that was me. I know exactly where my money goes. Tell me where your money's going. You should know that first and then adjust from there. Is that a better way to explain it? All right. Thank you.
I think real quick before the next question too, real important there. You've heard us talk about, we're going to talk about this tomorrow, but you've also heard us talk about the new zero. And that's the reason why, is because we get lured into, at one point if you're resetting, you want to just have $5,000 in your checking account. Then all of a sudden, because you're not tracking, it becomes 10,000. As long as I have 10,000, I'm comfortable. Then it becomes 20,000. Then it becomes 40,000, because you're not playing these percentages. And then on the converse, the opposite side of that, a lot of you are sitting here thinking like, well, I cannot invest in X, Y, and Z. Well, that's great. What's an annuity? Let me Google that. I'll do that when I have $50,000. If you were doing it percentage basis, you would all be in this room way ahead in your investment strategy, because you would be playing the percentages versus amounts. We get tricked. We get tricked into the new zero. What's comfortable for you becomes a different number. And it's unfortunate, because as you find success, that number gets higher, but it also gets dumber. You should not just have $2.8 million in your checking account in case something happens. That's not intelligent, but it feels good over time, right? If we were playing the percentage game, then we would know how to allocate that. And if you started it, and John is in the room was asking me this, if you started it when you were 21, boy, you would be so far ahead. You'd be so far ahead. And initially, you might be only allocating a couple $1,000s a year into your investments, and that's totally fine. But it would grow because of compounding interest, and you would never fall back into that, oh, I need to have $5 million in my checking account just to feel safe. And I alluded to that this morning, where there's some of you in this room that have $1 million in your business operating account, and the monthly operating expenses are $25,000 a month. That doesn't make sense because you're not playing the percentages. Cole Adams.
Hello, Mr. Meltzer.
Hello.
I have a comment and then a question. The first one is regarding abundance. I think when we typically think about abundance in BDC, we talk about its context with money, but I saw a video of yours that I think about almost like every single day about when responsibilities seem to overflow, or if we're overwhelmed, how that's also a form of abundance. So I want to thank you for that. I'm grateful for that. I think about it all the time. My question is about like self-talk. I always joke, I talk to myself like professionally and personally. Like I talk to myself on the golf course, which if you've ever played golf with me is like abhorrent. So you seem like somebody who has like elite self-talk, and when I practice it, I'm good about it for like a minute or 5 minutes or 20 minutes. How do you practice that, or how do you begin practicing that?
Yeah, so what we say is one of the ways that we give data to our sensory cortex of our cells. Our cells are receiving information. The more they receive that are consistent, it changes the neural pathway or the neuroplasticity in our brains, which then become an automatic system to change our genetic and energetic inheritance in our true DNA. You can shift your energy. And so talking, saying it out loud, has that duplicative effect of not only asking for what you want, but programming yourself for what you want. And it's confusing. Let me use a golf. I train mindset for a couple professional golfers, and this one used to trip them out, and they are equally, it changed their life. And you can do this for other things. If you play golf for money, which some of you may do, how many times have you sat on the green when you're in a skins game and you're in a foursome and you're the last to putt and you say this, miss it, miss it, miss it. And guess what you're telling yourself? Now all of a sudden you think that you've just said miss it, 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 which has, believe it or not, when you say it to them, especially if you're saying it in your head, has no impact on their putt, by the way. Zero. That's not the way this works. But you've just reinforced the cellular memory that you have with 9 or 10 miss it, miss it, miss it, miss it. Now you line up to your putt, and although you're like, okay, I'm gonna make this, you might even say it 2 or 3 times, you're screwed. If you're putting and you're gambling, the best thing you can do in your head is say, make it. Still not going to give any advantage over the person. Make it. Make it, 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 make it. Then when it's your turn, make it. This is what people do in life all the time. They think they have great self-talk because when they're talking to themselves, they're programming it this much of the time, but meanwhile the rest of the day they're attacking and judging and labeling other people, and they wonder why they feel attacked, judged, and labeled. Because you've programmed yourself to be attacked, labeled, and judged. And so what we want to do is, in what we not only say but do, which will affect what we believe, which will then affect what we feel. All of them, right? It's just a continuum of intention. So I created a system called cancel because it's just natural that we're going to say things or do things that are attacking, judgmental, or labeling. So I literally, when I have a negative thought or a fear-based thought, I out loud sometimes. My kids say it too. I know Lacey and Sean you'll hear them say cancel. Just say it. Say it. Don't. You're telling your cellular cancel. I don't want that. And two things happen. One, you're increasing the statistical success of what you want, but even more importantly, you're also identifying what's in your subconscious that's aligned or not aligned with what you want, that is programming your unconscious competency, your DNA, your energy. And so when we get control of the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious continuum, we get a statistical success and efficiency, effectiveness, and statistical success will come because we're in control of the inputs. The subconscious holds 40,000 of the same thoughts. The only way that you can shift out and make those the ones that you want is to cancel the ones that aren't coming in and keep reprogramming the ones that you want. Once it's in the subconscious, now you're reinforcing the genetic and energetic inheritance. You can actually shift your entire being. So I utilize Cancel, Clear, Connect. I'll give you a book that teaches that, but canceling is a huge thing that you should use.
Ryan.
All right, you mentioned the drag racing analogy, 215 miles an hour. Oh no, now I need to make a right turn, right? So what would you recommend if you feel like someone is, me included in this, you're at a place in your life where you feel like, oh no, maybe I'm not going 215 miles an hour, but I'm going pretty quick and I need to make a bigger correction than the little ones that you talked about over time. So like, yeah. And then the assumption there on my part, maybe it's right, wrong, or otherwise, but is that there's a time on the other side of this that I'm running against. Like I need to make that right turn, and it's the course of action has to change faster than what I think I have.
That's the bigger problem, is the time, right? So once we understand time is created between two periods. One is the cause, and two is the outcome. So time is defined by causes and outcome. I always say that the biggest misuse of time exists between a cause, a problem, and a solution. That's the biggest misuse of time that people do, because they usually interfere and accelerate into a problem and give it more energy. So when we understand that time is just the distance between cause and outcome, then we can put our attention and intention on the causes, because the minute you put your attention and intention on an outcome, you create resistance and you slow yourself down. Both happen immediately. Let me give you an example. Most people will say, if I ask you, how much money do you want to make this year? Most people will say, I want to make blank this year by December 31st. Most people already have that in their mind. It's one of the worst things that you can say to yourself, because every second that ticks by, you create more and more resistance. You have now taken a quantitative number that's a man-made construct and put it into the future and combined time to it, which is another man-made construct. And so every man-made construct of time, an amount that you don't have from second number one, creates more resistance and puts more of your attention and intention on the outcome instead of the causes to get there. So many people, if we were going to San Diego from here, and we were two groups of us, you guys are driving with me, you guys are driving with Sean. Sean's group's like, I can't wait to get to Dave's Beach House in San Diego. They got the best sushi down there. The house is amazing. I'm gonna get sunburned. I'm gonna play golf at Torrey Pines. I can't wait to get there. How long till we get there? Can't wait to get there. And my group is like, okay, what's the fastest way, Dave, to get there? What's the best vehicle to use? What kind of apps are gonna get us there fastest? How are we gonna get there? Should we pack our food to get there? Should we bring porta potties? You know, how are we gonna get there efficiently? Two things will happen. Our group, 99% of the time, unless there's some protection and promotion gonna happen, 99% of the time we'll get there faster in man-made constructive time. It'll take us 4.5 hours, it'll take you 5 hours. But most importantly, even if it took us longer because of some protection and promotion that could occur, relatively, we're going to get there so much faster. This group will say that trip took so long. This is what people do in their businesses, in their relationships. They sit there all day long and put their attention and intention on outcomes. They misuse the distance between causes and effective because they're so worried about what's coming instead of what's becoming to get to where they want to go. You make that shift, I promise you, the relativity of time, which is the majority of your life, I'm going to repeat that, the relativity of time, which is the majority of your life, will change forever. You give meaning to everything relative. The majority of your life is always the relativity of time, not the man-made construct of time. But the best way to utilize the relativity of time is to take care of the man-made construct of time by staying in that attention and intention of what you want today.
Are they launching missiles at us, or what's happening? Well, at least you guys all know about it. I thought it was the Dow Jones. Brian. Oh, Cassie.
No, it's me. I'm not totally sure how to ask this question, but I last week bought a car that I can only drive like 4 months out of the year because I basically live in Canada. There's snow everywhere. And I'm really, really struggling with it's not guilt that like I don't deserve this, like I deserve this, this is great, I'm so excited. But I'm really struggling with the fact that there are so many people out there who are working as hard as they think that they possibly can, and they're not addicted to drugs, and they're not just messing around doing stupid stuff, and they're choosing between buying gas and buying food. And it's not that I can't help all of those people, right? And I can't just like give them everything that they need. That's not super helpful. But now I have a like winter car and a summer car, and that feels not great.
Yeah, you know why? Because you somehow believe we live in a zero-sum game. You think because you have 2 cars that you're holding somebody else back from having a car and food and expensive gas or whatever, and it's just not true. You could give all your cars away. You give them to people and just make them people who need to get a car given to them, instead of understanding what you understand, that you live in a world of more than enough in a value add game. It's not, if you bought that car for the right reason, now you've made it into I think you bought it for the right reason, because you have a distribution of wealth that you want to put towards something else, and you believe there's more than enough, and you're doing everything you can to help other people as well, empower them to get the cars that they need and the gas that they need.
Yeah.
If you didn't buy the car, there's a whole bunch of people that'd be out of work. We always forget that when we buy things, that you're actually giving money. Money doesn't disappear. It doesn't, you can print it, but it doesn't disappear. It's still there. So if you go to a really fancy dinner, enjoy yourself because you're adding value to everyone in the restaurant. You're just distributing it in a different way. I always say, appreciate what you have, like your car. It'll add value, increase your vessel. Acknowledge what you have by giving away, having it lost, stolen, manipulated. Once you relieve yourself of the accumulation, now you can ask for more. You can ask for 3 cars. But the worst thing that you want to do is live in blame, shame, and justification, live that you're not worthy of it, because now you are living in the zero-sum vacuum, and guess what's going to happen? All of a sudden, you're not going to be worthy of it, and you're not going to have the car, and you're going to really feel bad when you have to sell the car to eat, because you put yourself in a mindset that there's not more than enough, that somehow, because you have that car, someone else doesn't. It's just not true. It's not true. So according to your values, personal, experiential, giving and receiving, and your timing and risk tolerance, and you prioritize a second car because you live in Canada, and if you didn't have that car, you'd be renting a car instead and not feeling guilty. You'd be Ubering and not feeling guilty. What's the difference? It's going to cost money for whatever you do, and that money will go to the person driving the Uber. So instead, you just supported people that make cars. And if somebody needed the car to borrow, I'm sure you'll let them borrow it, and you'll feel good about it that you're able to do that. This is a really important fact, because everyone lives in these buckets of zero-sum game, and we feel bad. You cannot feel bad enough to make someone feel good. You can't be poor enough to make someone rich. You can't be sick enough to make someone well. And people have this mindset in a zero-sum game, if I feel bad enough for you for what has happened to you, that somehow that's going to make you feel good. No, it makes you feel bad and them feel worse. I've never, ever, in the lowest points of my life, when someone came up to me and go, I'm so sorry you lost your dad. I mean, it must be terrible. I feel so bad for you. You lost your dad. No, I I don't want you to feel bad for me. Ask me if I need help or anything you can do for me. Pray for my happiness. But don't feel bad for me.
Okay, thank you for being here today. I'm actually very grateful to be in the room to actually hear you speak. My question, can you explain more on your stop, drop, and roll?
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you. So the greatest practice I have to live minutes and moments in fear, knowing that my body is a symbol of fear. The only thing that can be attacked is my body. My mind cannot be attacked. And so I practice identifying what it is that I'm afraid of. Fear is much more than just being afraid. Fear is an ego-based consciousness that creates interference between me and my source. It limits me as a resource. I believe in an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing, omnipresent everything that loves me more than my mom loves me. So the only time I can't receive it is when I'm in fear, creating a void, shortage, or an obstacle. So what I do is I practice identifying the things that I do, say, think, believe, and feel that are fearful. And when I do that, counterintuitively, I don't resist it. I don't fight it. I don't go over it, under it, or through it, or lie to it, manipulate it, deny it, or cheat it. I don't get mad at it. So the first practice to start for everyone is identify the needs that you have to be afraid. I have a need to be right. Just think of all the time, emotion, value, and friendships and relationships you've ruined because you have a need to be right. I remember there's only two types of people, ignorant ones and ignorant ones. I guarantee you're not right all the time. I tell everyone I'm right about 50% of the time. So I don't have a need to be right because I know I'm right about 50% of the time. Need to be offended, need to be separate, need to be inferior, a need to be superior, a need to be angry, a need to be frustrated, anxious, worried, complain, guilty, resentful. Anytime I feel guilty, I used to try to overanalyze it, out-logic it. I felt so guilty that, no, just stop. Stop is the first thing you do. Don't fight it. Identify it and stop. That's your stop sign. The ego-based consciousness. Once you stop, you're in the game. Because now, once you stop, just breathe through your nose, out through your mouth. Find your higher self, your center. That's why I meditate. It's just a matter of finding a baseline for the day, accessing and recovering what I receive from a download of sleep. That's why I meditate right when I wake up. But I find I plateau and grow because I'm always at a baseline. Okay, this is how I feel. I'm at a really high place. Okay, I don't feel that way anymore. I identify why. Oh, I'm pissed. Right, my daughter came home and unexpectedly said 10 friends are going to be staying with us. Meanwhile, we got birthday parties, graduations. That pisses me off. But it would have ruined a really incredible week that I had. Instead, I just stopped, and then I tried to get Julie to stop. Then I dropped, I breathed, and then the roll part is my favorite because it just reinforces today. When you stop and drop and you get to center, it's so easy to ask myself, okay, I call it reminding, remembering, and recollecting. What do you think you're reminding to? Remembering. What do you think you recollect with? Oh, with source, right? I'm aggravated, I'm worried, I'm complaining, life is happening. Now I've practiced identifying it and then getting to center in minutes and moments. Now I just remember, and recollect, oh yeah, this is what I want today. This is my timing and risk tolerance. This is who I can help, who can help me, how best to get that done. Prioritizing or reprioritizing according to activity that wasn't planned, that probably pissed me off or made me feel guilty or resentful or offended. But I only spend minutes and moments instead of, I can see it on your faces and in mine, spending days, weeks, months, and years. I ruined so many relationships with these needs, and I could have just spent minutes and moments finding the light, the love, and the lesson in the special people in my life, and instead of trying to find what I don't want in them, and then living with what I don't want in them, which is really a small part of what they are. And then I completely labeled them or judged them by that little part or little experience that offended me. all of a sudden they become a terrible person because they didn't invite me to the baseball game. These are really true stories from the most enlightened individuals that I've met.
Just real quick, you talk about the universe loves you more than you love your own children, loves you more than your mom loves you. And to Cassidy's point, earlier this morning we talked about the difference between scarcity and lack. Scarcity being that there's not enough of it, lack, I don't have enough of it. And if you actually do buy into the construct of there is a source that cares about me more than my own mother cares about me, how come you don't ever worry about running out of oxygen? Like, how much time do you spend on like contemplating, like, maybe I shouldn't breathe because maybe Dave won't get enough breath? Like, I never even give that even a thought, not even for a second. Never even contemplated that. There's just more than enough oxygen. There's never, you abundantly, and you can't see it. That's also crazy. You can't see it. So you have no scarcity relative to air. I have legit, this is a weird thing, wondered, like, how in the world do we make so much food? Like you just think about like how much food gets consumed in a day in the world, and like, where is all of that food? But then somehow it gets made because there's a universe that provides more than enough. And I would never not eat dinner and think to myself like, well, I'm going to not eat dinner so that Dave can have something to eat over there in Orange County. Like, that doesn't even make sense, right? Like, I feel bad because I know Dave's probably hungry because he's got to fly back, and so I'll just forego dinner tonight. That's not how it actually works. There is no scarcity, and there's so many things that you depend on for survival that you just take for granted, and then yet you put so much fear around this thing called money. Why wouldn't the universe equally provide you? It's more than enough. You're not going to breathe up all the oxygen in the world. You can't even do it if you tried. You can't get it all. So the same thing applies to wealth, currency, to money. There's more than enough for everybody in the entire world. Why would I even give it a second thought? So I just need what is provided to me based off of the impact that I'm making on the world, and I'll be provided with the tools that I need in order to make that impact. We have time for one last question.
Let me add one little thing before we take the last question, because it's a really important point. This is why collective consciousness is so important. This is why your neighborhood, your frequency is so important. Because as much as you as an individual can have abundant thoughts, when we get a collective together, this is why we do the mastermind, this is why we have these groups, there's so much power. And I always look at droughts. Droughts don't happen when people don't believe that there's a shortage of rain. They get worse and worse and worse the more you see signs out there. Drought, drought, drought. I want to create a rainfall, a windfall for everyone. A collective consciousness. It takes about 8 people to create one, which is why great masterminds have 20 or groups of 150. So make sure that you are surrounding yourself with the right people, the right ideas that share your frequency. It is your neighborhood. The touches of favor, the options and opportunities will be within the context of the people that are around you. And so although everybody else might be living in a drought, you're living in a rainforest. And it only takes 8 of the right people to continually create that reality.
So when you were speaking before, you told the story about when you were at the bank and they changed your guy, and that comes straight out of a movie, except it wasn't funny for you. And you said something along the lines of, don't play games with people who have played the same game 1,000 times when it's your first time. But you've also mentioned opportunities, both in the same talk.
Yep, great. So what I learned was the valuable lesson of mentorship. The fastest way to get to where I wanted to be was find someone that was in a situation that I want to be in and give me directions on how to be there. So if I was more enlightened through the experience that I had by playing a game that someone else has played with, for example, if I never played basketball, but I asked LeBron James, hey, will you play with me? I'd have a lot better statistical success than playing LeBron James and D Wade with me and Sean in our first basketball game ever. Because there's a lot of situation knowledge, skills, and desire that I can utilize. So all I needed to do was have a fiduciary when instead of being Midas, I should have sought Midas, and every day, week, month, or year at least sat down with a real Midas and said, hey, what's my actual risk? What are the things I should look at? Oh, I read this story when I was young about bank books and, during the Depression, and the people that made the most money actually went out and bought bank books because people needed money so much. So they paid, pennies on the dollar, and they bought up bank accounts so people could eat. Banks can do whatever they want just because you think that what happens when a bank goes under? What are you going to do? There's a variety of lessons I've learned that I mentor people on that had no idea. And it wasn't just me. I've learned some billionaires that survive without going bankrupt. But one in India, one of the wealthiest families in the world, they lost and were called on a $200 million loan, and they had to default because they couldn't come up with the $200 million quickly. And they did the same switching people game on them as well. So it's simple. I spend most of my day for just quickly knowing what I want, but the majority is who can I help and who can help me. The prayer in my morning is always, may God put at least 10 people in front of me I can help. May He put at least 10 people in front of me that can help me. Because once I know what I want, I just have to decide who can I help with what I want and who can help me. And if you're doing that every day, they're not these major shifts. I think that's the coolest thing about it is, yes, when you first start, it's a habit and it sucks, just like working out for the first 2 weeks. But by 75 hard, you're going for 95 and 100. But the first 10 days suck. Just do that consistent. It's so subtle, the changes in my life. Like the stock market crashes, and it did, right, in COVID, and I didn't even know it. Because every day I know that's not in my risk tolerance and anything I would have in the stock market. And then my only decision was, I know this stock is going to go up. And then I had to reevaluate, no, you promised yourself, that's not how you're going to make your money.
Just to conclude, one, personally, to thank you. And one of the things that we also teach is to not be ashamed, not bragging, but like when you have success, you're successful, and that just allows you to give more. You receive, become a great receiver. I think in this calendar year, we've done now nearly over $5 million in business in our collective business that we have, which is an amazing testament to, again, the neighborhood, the energetic level, because it's not like we didn't sell $5 million worth of courses, it's other people, right, coming into our sphere and collaborating and partnering with us. And what I think is incredible is that that's available, that's not because I'm me, that's available to everybody in the room. I would love to hear also what you get out of these masterminds. Why do you think they're so great?
So I get paid to go to masterminds. Like literally, they'll say, I'll give you 50 grand to show up. And I usually show up longer than they want me, as you learned. I'm not an in and out person. The best thing that I get is it's aligned with my mission. Like I know just in the front row, looking at the people in the front 3 rows, that I have empowered substantial people to empower substantial people to empower substantial people to be happy. My legacy is built by doing these masterminds. The second thing that I get out of it, besides my mission in life to empower others to be happy, is I find out what people are listening for so I can get better at empowering others to empower others. In those mastermind settings, I'm gonna take a risk because I don't sell shit on stage except for Sean, and the reason I sell it is that there's no better investment you can make to change your life. You come to the mastermind, I guarantee quantitatively it'll change your life. And if you've come to a mastermind and it's changed your life, raise your hand. If I asked you, give me $1 to change your life, or give me $100 determined upon your time risk tolerance, if I said give me $1 million, there's people that would, and they do. That's why I do the masterminds where I do them here, is if you want to change your life, If you want to make more money, help more people, and have more fun, come to the mastermind. Leave a few spots for my friends, though, because I literally have not told them. But the two things I get out of it is my mission. I think about the movie. Most of you don't know this, but I did a movie with Angelo Pizzo and David Anspaugh called The 500. It was supposed to come out for the 100th anniversary of the Indy 500. Unfortunately, I lost everything, and a lot of people in the movie lost everything. It's a $120 million movie. It's about a man named Carl Fisher. Carl Fisher is my entrepreneurial hero. Most people in the world, even in Indianapolis, don't know who Carl Fisher was, which I found really surprising. Went to the Indy 500, and they didn't know who Carl Fisher was because he was the guy that founded the Indy 500. He also owned Montauk and South Beach. He also built the Lincoln and Holland freeways that connected the entire country. He also was the richest man on earth for 3 different times, bankrupt in between, and died a pauper. Carl Fisher, why he's significant is not because of the successes and failures, it's because he didn't give anything to charity. He built Montauk and Fisher Island's named after him. He built the Indy 500. If Vanderbilt wouldn't have given $2 million to Central University, none of us would have known who Vanderbilt is. None of us. I will venture to say that in 100 years, most people on earth will, about the same amount that know Carl Fisher, will know Steve Jobs. Because he didn't create a legacy. Incredible business person, incredible products, incredible company, incredible corporate leader, but he's no Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. You have an opportunity to create a legacy. You can be a Warren Buffett, you can be a Jeff Bezos, you can give $10 billion to the environment because money matters. I know the methodology to do it. I see it from the people that I've worked with. Their lives have changed, and they're going to leave a legacy beyond how much money. It's because how many people they help with the money and how much fun they had with it. So 100 years from now, they're going to know Meltzer beat Chandler. You guys heard I'm fighting Mike Chandler, by the way.
Everybody.
I'm dreaming big, don't laugh. Does anybody know a nose surgeon?
Everybody show David Meltzer how much we appreciate him. Thank you so much, Dave.